Welcome back to my playthrough of the letter, and when we last left off in the death run, Isabella had died, and then Hannah had become possessed. So, now we're on to Zach. And, unfortunately, poor Zachary is awaiting a very, very terrible fate. And the pleasant aroma hits me long before I cross the threshold. Faint, but light and warm, a reminder of what home is. Pa's stern but commending gaze, Ma's tender smiles, the sunlight filtering through the eaves in the morn, and the distinct smell of cinnamon and vanilla as it drifts through the air every time something cooks from the room. The room, our room, Ma and Pa's pride and joy. My sister and I too eventually, but we ain't allowed in there. Not yet. Not until we're taller or older. Not until we've learned how to take care of ourselves and not burn our hands or reach to the cupboards without having to be lifted.
But a little peek wouldn't hurt, yeah?
The floorboards are cold under my feet, more than it usually is. The walls more forbidding than what I am used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases and Pa.
No, please wait! I'll be good! I'll sleep on time! Don't go!
I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comfort soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear. When my foot slips, the red sea that catches me is bitter and frigid, but the blood that drips in my hand is warm. Warm, warm. It ain't my blood. The walls tumble, and everything goes quiet. Dots. The first few notes, while muffled, are enough to wake me. Oh, crap. Please tell me we're not gonna have to go through all this to clear this out of the way. Actually, it's not much. My phone's ringing. Zachary Zach Steele, 31 years old, born March 20th. He's 6 foot, he's a freelance photographer, he's American. He likes pie photography, filmography, documentaries, cooking, acoustic guitar, and video games. Before his parents' death, he lived in New Jersey, where his family owned a diner and a bakery. He and his older sister were orphaned due to a hate crime, and they were forced to move to England, where their grandparents lived. It takes a few moments for everything to fall into place, for my eyes to adjust to the light streaming into the room. Despite the pleasant chill the AC brings, my shirt is clinging tightly to me, and my blanket is a tangled mess around my throat. It's one of those nights again when sleep passes like a blink and is plagued with vague, fuzzy thoughts. I lift a hand to rub away the drowsiness from my eyes, although it does little to relieve the gritty, burning sensation from my eyelids. Outside, the sun has yet to peek over the horizon, but night has already given way to the morning cool light, washing everything in subtle gray hues. At this hour, the entire city remains unstirring. Ordinarily, waking up before my own alarm means abusing the snooze button twice or thrice just to catch those precious few extra minutes of sleep. But the persistent ringing makes it impossible now.
This better be good.
Groggily, I scramble up for the bag sitting at the foot of the bed. The ringing still hasn't stopped, even as I fish the phone out, and Ash's name flashes brightly on the screen when I turn it on. Must be pretty urgent if he hasn't dropped the call yet.
Where are you?
Ashton, it's 6 in the morning. Sun hasn't even risen. Hell, my brain ain't even awake yet. What do you need?
Get your ass here, pronto.
Here? Hold on. Can't this wait until I'm actually awake?
No, Rebecca's not in a good state, and...
His voice hitches, and I fail to catch the last of what he's saying over the sudden racket on the other side of the line. When the noise dies down, however, he does not continue. This abrupt change in his tone, the unexpected hesitance to speak, puts me on the edge, and a different kind of anxiety clings to me. Something's wrong.
Here's where, Ash?
Apartment. Rebecca's, and Isabella's. Just get here, please.
He drops the call before I can ask more. Maybe it's just me or my sleep-addled brain, but in that short moment he sounds almost as if he's pleading. The thought alone does not ease the lump of dread gripping my insides already heavy with fear. But despite the questions currently swimming in my head, I waste no time in getting dressed, the rest of the day's plans and scheduled meetings effectively forgotten. Whatever lies ahead, I hope this ain't one of those times when my intuition is right. The murmurs of the small crowd milling on the streets are loud against my ears, a contrast to the sleepy, laid-back reputation this neighborhood has built throughout the years. Despite sitting close to downtown Luxborn, Salem Quarter never did quite attract the loud crowd common to the city. Isabelle mentioned once how the quiet bothered her in the first few years here. She has grown so used to the routine clangor of the slums in her hometown, it has become the closest she has to a lullaby. She never did quite adjust to the kind of mom Salem had. Yeah, now I highly doubt she'd like this kind of commotion either, in her own apartment complex no less. Moreover, where is Rebecca in all this? I was hoping either one of them will be able to give me an explanation, but a number of police cars and an ambulance are parked on the street closest to the compound. Given Ashton's tone over the phone, I already half expected their presence here. What's a little surprising are the news vans lined up on the road opposite.
What in the blazes is the press doing here?
The cold stone at the pit of my stomach grows more unwelcoming with each step I take, bringing a sour taste in my mouth. A handful of the curious has flocked near the building, probably waiting for something interesting to happen. Carefully, I wave my way through their thin crowd, only to be halted soon by a perimeter tape enclosing the three-story apartment. My eyes dart around the busy landing on the other side. It buzzes with activity as several officers move in and out of the building, most of them in white suits stained at the hems and gloves with a striking shade of red. I try not to think where those came from, but an idea has already planted itself firmly in my head long before I can stop myself. Ash must be in there somewhere if it is that kind of case. I wait, and after what seems like a lifetime, he emerges from the building, his own gloves smeared with the same red shade that others had on theirs, and an exhaustion evident on his face. Briefly, he scans the area, but quickly averts his gaze when he catches my eye. Without so much as a wave or an acknowledgement, he starts to walk off in the opposite direction while reading off the papers he has on hand with complete focus. I get that he's busy, but that's on a whole different level of weird. Not 3 steps later, though, he seems to think better of it. He pauses before wheeling around and walking back toward me. This kind of hesitance, while not unheard from him, is only enough to fuel a sick dread clawing at my insides. He doesn't meet my eyes when he speaks either.
Sorry you had to be greeted by this.
You say that like this is something new to me. Come on, dude, after all these years, every time I see your name on the caller ID, I'm already half expecting something shitty went down again somewhere.
An expression both pained and weary crosses his face momentarily before hiding back under his usual mask of indifference. The rest of my laughter dies from my lips, replaced by a sound devoid of any mirth. Try as I might to keep the talk light, the thick atmosphere has become stifling at some point. I've always known how taxing his work in the police force has become since his promotion, seen it with my own eyes as a matter of fact. But right now, have things really gone this bad for him lately?
Can't say the sight of forensics is a pleasant thing to see in the morning. Anyway, where's Rebecca? You mentioned she's not in a good state. And then, we have this. Please don't tell me she's somehow gotten herself in.
Nothing's happened to her. They're just getting her statement. They should let her go soon.
He gestures with his hands to her head towards an ambulance parked a short distance from us. Her strikingly familiar hair is visible between the 2 officers standing nearby. Although I can't see her face, the tired droop on her shoulders is impossible to miss. Still, to see her unharmed is relief enough.
Glad to hear that. What's going on here anyway? Seems like you've got yourself another big case on your plate this time.
It's been classified as a homicide, but nothing conclusive yet.
A homicide? Another? Right here? Figures why the press is here. No, I don't think any of the 2 girls will appreciate you bringing the whole precinct here. Bella especially. Never did quite forgive Devlin, no matter how much she laughs about it now.
Isabella's not here. Zach.
A flicker of grief, momentarily in its passing, but it's there across his face at the mention of her. And in that single lapse, the stone in my stomach has firmly lodged itself up in my throat.
Ash, what's really going on here?
A hunch, that's all it is. But if there's anything I've learned from him all these years, it's that asking the hardest questions are unavoidable if you want to get answers. Not in a world as harsh as ours.
Ashton, I asked you a question. Where is Isabella?
When he looks at me, I already know the answer. God damn, I already know it, but I want to hear it straight from him.
She's dead.
2 words, none of it registers.
Dude, you know full well I find jokes like that in bad taste. If you need me curious about this, you got it done way before that came out of your mouth. Now answer the question properly.
I already did. What else do you want me to tell you?
The truth! Stop shitting with me and tell me what this is all about! God help me if no one tells me what's going on. I swear I'll...
I don't have time for this, Zach. I've got a lot of stuff waiting to be dealt with right now. I need you to make yourself useful and stay with Rebecca after they're done with her.
Let me through.
My hand's already on the tape, poised to raise it, but he's quick to move in front to bar me from crossing to the other side. It only serves to raise the ire bubbling up in me. The tone he takes doesn't help
I
either.
can't let you do that. This place is off limits until the investigation's over.
It wasn't a request. Let me through.
What could you possibly want to?
You said she's dead! I want to see it with my own eyes, Ash. I'm not buying any of your bullshit until I've seen it with my own eyes. Move aside.
Or what? You'll break the tape? March in there like some criminal above the law? Because I'm telling you that's what you'll be once you do. And I won't be able to keep you out of trouble this time, no matter how innocent you are.
Screw the rules! That is my friend in there! Just the other day I was talking with her. How can she be dead right now? How sure are you that she is? All I'm asking is proof, goddammit!
It's not that simple. We're following a protocol here. And friend or not, you have to stay in line while forensics finishes documenting the victim's body and every fucking thing in the goddamn scene. Now back off, sit down, and let us do our work. Don't make this harder for us, Zach.
What? You make it sound like you don't even know her. Ain't she your friend too?
It's not that. You don't understand. Right now, she's nothing but a dead body. We need...
All I saw was red. My anger subsides just as quickly as it erupted, and the next thing I knew, he's on the ground, nursing a bloody lip and a bruised cheek with an unreadable expression in his eyes. My fist falls to my side, limp and forgotten. The papers and photos he's been holding onto all this time flutter uselessly to the floor around us as if to mock me. His rage would have been better, far easier to deal with than the wall he suddenly built up around himself. With it, there's only hurtful words and ugly truths, no puzzling guessing games that leaves you thinking for days on end. I shouldn't have let my temper get the better of me either. I want to apologize, say something to remedy the situation, but my mouth has gone thick with fear and remorse all at once. I can only look at my feet, no longer standing close to the boundary I threatened to cross earlier. And that is when I see it, understanding dawns on me, violent enough to shake me. With trembling hands, I reach for the scattered photographs off the pavement. A sick, burning feeling immediately rises up to my throat. Purely on instinct, my eyes move in every corner of the print, searching for any sign of tampering, for any discrepancy, for any hope that this might just be an awful prank. But try as I may, I can't find it. Ripped apart. There's no other word for it. She barely looks like herself. In fact, I wouldn't have known it's her if Ashton hadn't mentioned something earlier. When I think of her, all I see is the person who rarely ever lost the cheer in her voice. Often upbeat, rarely dispirited. Now she's nothing more than a mangled mess of blood, flesh, and splintered bones. Her head is bent backwards, the eyes and mouth open in a silent, empty scream. A hole in her torso big enough to expose her insides gapes open at me. It is as if a savage beast has torn it viciously open and feasted on it, every organ mutilated and butchered beyond all recognition. Blood pools from the open wound, drenching her and the floor in a deep shade of red. I can smell and taste it even without being here. When I finally look back at him, Ashton's shoulders have gone rigid, his eyebrows are drawn in a tight frown, his jaws are clenched tight. I recognize the frustration, his frustration, for what it is. It's not that Ash doesn't want me to see her, he simply doesn't want her to be seen in this state. This ain't how he wants her to be remembered. I struggle to find the words, anything to fix this god-awful misunderstanding. This ain't what we should be doing right now, but he only looks away as he pushes himself off the ground.
I don't know what came over me.
I won't be pressing assault charges considering the situation. I've got things to check with the other officers. But don't go thinking you can easily cross this line without me here. The other police types won't be as forgiving. Go check on Rebecca. She's probably the one who took it the hardest.
Without another word, Ash gathers the papers littering the ground, ducks under the perimeter tape, and walks away without so much as a backward glance. Zachary received an alarming phone call from Ashton, pleading him to go to Salem while residences immediately. Upon arrival, Ashton bluntly informed him of Isabelle's death. Frustrated over the news and Ashton's seemingly indifferent attitude, Zach punched him. doesn't even remember that the photos are still in my hand. In hindsight, I could follow him. I should follow him. Return these to him, apologize, and maybe attempt even a decent conversation without butting our heads or getting into trivial squabble over this, of all things. But he's right, damn it. He's right that we're not the only two people going through this, and right now Rebecca has to bear losing a friend all on her own. Who should I be with? Nang. What are we gonna do? You know what? In the end, the need to fix whatever rift I have unintentionally opened between us wins out. The punch might have been an instinctive reaction brought about by high emotions after getting caught in the moment, but at the end of the day, someone has to ask for forgiveness. I still need answers too, and who better to get it from than Ashton? I've already lost sight of the guy, though he shouldn't be too hard to find from here. Thankfully, the crowd has already thinned, most having already lost interest in the commotion that entails the discovery of a crime scene. A few do linger, just reporters finishing things up for the news and waiting for some final words from the authorities. If this incident is not yet all over the news this morning, it will be soon.
Like a pack of wolves descending on a piece of meat.
That thought alone rankles. No sooner I find him standing close on a police van parked nearby, or rather, I hear him. Just as I'm about to make the turn, an unfamiliar voice stops me at my tracks.
Forensics say it may take longer than usual. One piece of a long-ass process this is gonna be.
Excuse me.
Don't give me that look, Frey. You've seen how terrible the shape of the body is in. Almost spilled my guts out when I saw it. And I've seen a lot of dead bodies in my life.
I can't see who the other person is, but it's likely the officer he mentioned earlier. When Ashton answers, it's the same composed manner he typically carries with him, as though this is simply another case for him to solve.
This was done by a professional, Abigail.
Sure it is. Or a wild animal. Maybe some monster. Like the ones you'll find in a flick?
Don't be ridiculous. This is far from usual. But there's certainly an explanation to it. A logical one. Consider what we have right now. The place is clean, has been cleaned. No fingerprints, no hair, or any other way to indicate someone else has been in the apartment aside from Isabelle, the victim.
Please don't tell me you've never heard of the Anslem butcher case.
Didn't the trail for that case go cold?
Until recently, yeah? Remember the woman from the other day? Not as gruesome, but same sitch. Help me everywhere. CSI guys also found a weird note with the same thing written in Santos's room. I'd bet my boots Chief's gonna flip once he reads the reports. He never did catch who committed those murders years ago. And now his favorite serial killer is back. Bless Cooper's and Santos's poor souls. Some suspense mystery thriller this is turning out to be. Or a huge pain in the ass. Chief better give us a raise after this.
What did you say?
Chief better give us a raise? You know we're overdue for one.
No, before that. Say that again.
The note? It's with the forensics now if you want to check.
Not that one. A name. You mentioned a name. Cook? Coombs?
The Cooper woman? Oh yeah, you weren't there. Christ, Frey, at least check the reports for the other cases. Let's see. Rose Pamela Cooper, real estate agent, found dead in her flat the other day. Same modus operandi. Scene was clean, blood and entrails everywhere, whoop-de-doo, there goes my lunch, and a message written in blood.
Ashton falls silent. I can almost hear the gears turning in his head at the information.
The job. Her job. Where did you say she was working?
I didn't say anything. But it's Briar Realty, same one as this girl. Might be connected, huh?
They were the agents who handled the sale of the mansion to the Wrights.
Yep. Big news, that one property. Got a relative working in that real estate company once. He was laid off a year ago, along with a few dozen employees. I actually thought they're about to go under. Guess not. But 2 employees from the same company dead in the span of a week. If I didn't know any better, I'd say they did something fishy with a deal and things somehow got awkward with the client, if you know what I mean. This might be the result.
Isabella's not that kind of person!
His tone alone makes me pause. I've seen him annoyed before, frustrated even, but it sometimes makes her a funny sight. But on a job, he's shared a few of his cases with me before. I'd like to think I know how he works by now, and he's never once taken this kind of attitude in any of those.
Whoa there, hotshot. Calm down. I was just thinking out loud. Don't get snippy with me. And how the fuck do you even know she's not?
I know she's not. She's I wasn't sorry. I've got to file this report. I'm leaving this to you. I'll be back later. Keep me updated.
Figures. Go get some rest while you're at it. We've been at this since last night. Even I can't keep myself awake that long. You're still young, a hard-working kid, but don't kill yourself over every case you're handling, got it?
Thanks. Not this one, I'm afraid.
An irrational panic surges in me at the sound of his footsteps. It ain't my intention to eavesdrop, even if this can be still called eavesdrop when they're talking loud enough for me to hear. I certainly can leave, but what good will that do? In any case, I still need to give these photographs back to him. Except he doesn't notice me when he passes. Even with the tentative hand I raise to get his attention, he continues to walk with a purpose, each stride quick and decisive. The look on his face, however, there are really no other words for it. He looks pissed as hell. And if he was the kind of person, I'd wager good money that the next one who annoys him will end up injured in some capacity.
Ash, hold on!
He stops, appears about ready to let out a half-dozen expletives, despite his restraint before his tight expression eases into a small frown upon seeing me.
Zach? Didn't I say...
You forgot these.
I wave the photos in front of him. My recognition slips across his features before he walks over and takes them off my hands without so much as a thanks. Neither of us speak while he clips all of it back to his file. What else is there to talk about? A jest will be too inappropriate given the gravity of the situation. An apology right now, despite my intent when I sought him out, will be too early, too easy, too hasty. Not with our minds still reeling from the news, not with all of us still finding ways to cope with our own grief. And this is how he does it, with feigned indifference and an air of aloof detachment. I can't fault him for that.
Heard.
What? Oh, yeah. Of course, I didn't mean to overhear sensitive stuff. But you left these, and you and that officer were...
It's fine. You need to hear from someone eventually. Better to hear from people who have the fact instead of some random gossip.
What happens now, Ash?
I'll get to the bottom of this, I promise. Even if I have to do it with my own hands. I'll make sure the person who did this will pay.
How? Do you think this has something to do with that other case?
Can't say, but make sure you stay far away from the rights. We've got enough problems as it is. I don't need another one adding more to it.
Who? Wait, brakes, Ash, brakes. What about those things on the wall? Maybe she's right. Maybe it has something to do with what she's been telling us all this time. You saw the contents of the paper. What if it's...
Don't go thinking that the stupid letter is related or even a clue. This has more to it than some curse, damn it. I should have paid more attention. If I knew this would lead to this, I would have... I have to go. I'll leave Rebecca to you.
Yet as I watch him walk away, a different kind of worry weaves itself into me. Ash can handle himself, he's proven that time and time again. But the way he carries himself at the moment, this frustration, perhaps even anger, now seeping into his every word. Years ago, in our early acquaintance, he said keeping a cool head is priority in his line of work. Letting things get too personal should be the last thing that should happen in any case he's handling. I believed in him then. Now, with everything as they are, I hope he'd remember those words for himself. An apologetic Zachary decided to follow Ashton. There he overheard talk about the notorious Anslem Butcher, a serial killer who leaves help me messages with his victims similar to the ones he found with Isabelle's. Ashton promised Zach he'd catch whoever did this to their friend. Although it's small and begs for a little cleaning and repair, it is, at the end of the day, the closest I have to a respite. Sure, my sister would have a thing or two to say about the mess every time she visits, but it's still home to me. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind me, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. Most of them schedules, lists, and tasks for the next few days. Something to keep me busy while I sort things out, sort myself out. And now, with what happened to Isabelle, something to temporarily take my mind off things. A lone note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion, H. Wright, 11 a.m. After Ashton's... They all hold a different meaning now. Zach headed straight home after a long day. A photo shoot with Hannah Wright at the Homicide Mansion was on the schedule for tomorrow. After Ashton's warnings about the couple, he felt anxious about the whole thing. What the... Alright. The next 2 days rushed by in a blur altogether, leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up in a new expected acquaintances or friends. Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and know what he wants, but damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
There is nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I've grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, and cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Given enough time, you might end up with big names on your client list, names like the Wrights in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when a local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's new business venture, or other times it's the everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with it, leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabelle or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal, but just like every other gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Ms. Wright would pick him if he didn't have good points at all. Ms. Wright, Hannah herself, though, she ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. A bit too forward for a married woman, maybe, but not as bad as what I saw in the tabloids. Not that I ever read those. Ashton would give me flack for just staring at one. Rubbish, he called them once. I think he's just pissed because they often put the local police in a bad light. Although, with life as public as the Wrights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might have even ended up friends with Rebecca and Isabella too if they aren't living worlds apart. Probably. The beep quickly pulls me back to my thoughts before my thoughts travel any further. In one practice motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on a drying rack and amble over my makeshift darkroom to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the converted broom closet, the film processor lets out another soft clack before going on standby mood. At its mouth, a lone photograph sits on the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. It's the last one for tonight for the set Miss Wright requested. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff, that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well-intentioned or generous you are. This exception, however. She was nice enough to ask, after all, and was a good companion up until the awkward turn our little chit-chat has taken. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright isn't such a bad subject matter to begin with, and maybe this is just me, but for someone who has taken everything at the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and a pretty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles, always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these helps. A little reminder that the world can be kind, too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay it on another tray, holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing this last one if my body's already screaming for some decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity while I fish for a squeegee among the mess of tools on a drawer with the other. The bowl flickers twice before the glow settles and casts a soft light in the tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process and finally call it a night,
What on earth?
her head is gone. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. There, completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all the previous
Damn,
prints.
that was too careless.
Common mistake is to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick a newly processed photo in the dark, like apparently I did. It has happened before, loads of times actually, but I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach up for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from the scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
Memory clicks, one cursory thought in the sea of many, and a short distance second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. No, a woman. In her 20s or early 30s, maybe? but with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's not possible to tell at first glance. Skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Miss Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something I saw. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me rich. Some of Hannah's shots from the photo shoot the day before came out distorted as after Zachary developed them. He would have almost dismissed it as human error if he hadn't remembered a chilling memory from yesterday's shoot. I brushed it off then, a trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for things to happen. And, well, blaming this on the usual fatigue and overworked brain, the weather, or an amateur error on my part is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense rather than what the small voice in my head whispers. The same tiny voice that only makes itself known when something's afoul, the same one that lent a curious ear to Isabelle's worries about the mansion. And with each second I spend staring at this photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Someone has to know. Ash will give me flack for this, he will. I can already hear what he's going to say about this the moment I bring it up. Hell, even before he sees anything, I'll wager. The guy is a skeptic through and it'll take more than my account for him to even consider this, but when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs at the back of your neck and leave you wanting to flee or high, what he thinks is the least of my concerns. I am no hero, that's a title best reserved for someone else. Still, if this will help him change his mind, it's worth a try. It won't bring Isabelle back, it's far too late for that, but she certainly won't wish for anything to happen to us either. Outside, the sun has yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn, good enough time to mull over how I'll go about this with him. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. The film processor hums back to life at my touch, the light switch gives out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Sometimes I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and one visit to his flat later, I still have no idea which rock in Luxburn he went off to hide under again. The guy has his own place, but refuses to stay in it. He has his own phone, but doesn't answer any of his calls or gives any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time, he'll just show up at my front door, sometimes in the middle of the night, complaining about how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Nothing new from him, though, but a bit frustrating, really. There is the police precinct, of course. Then again, he's not there most of the time either, and if that's also true for today, he's likely out on another stakeout. There is nothing much to do for me but to wait if that's the case.
Just hope I'm lucky enough today.
While Luxburn is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, his precinct is abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like the receptionist who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, through low, comes from the hallway adjacent to the lobby.
Not even for just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved?
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Both his hands have formed into fists at his sides, which he promptly hides into his pockets as soon as he notices I'm staring. I am wrong to think this one will be as easy as the other times, coming out here and just talking. But with the word stuck in my throat, that plan has quickly been thrown out the window. We don't talk in the first place. We rarely ever do. When misunderstandings like this happens, the next day we're back to the way we are, like nothing occurred at all. None of those fights ever involved fists and bruised jaws, though. Nor a dead friend. And excuses are already forming in my head when he moves, stopping my thoughts with a little tap on my shoulder, and walks past me straight to the door. He gestures with his head towards their very irked receptionist when I raise an eyebrow in question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. Hopefully, things haven't completely fallen apart yet. Even with that, lunch is still every bit as awkward as I imagine it will be. As expected, he takes his seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the window, but easily allows a view of who comes and goes. Secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this lunch he invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits I have gotten used to. 5 minutes in, though, I find myself wishing someone will interrupt just for the sake of interrupting. We've got no use for privacy when neither of us seem to be too keen on talking. The arrival of food, however, seems to abate this, and pretty soon small bits of conversation would slip in. A chuckle here, a little nod there, not quite enough to break the tension, nor be taken as an apology, but cordial to the point of swallowing our meal becomes easier. But someone has to open that can of worms eventually, no matter how unpleasant it is. What should I say? Above all, he was not the one who threw the punch that day.
Ash, the other day...
Words falter from my mouth when he pauses eating, his fork halfway to his mouth. It clinks a moment later against his plate when he settles it down and leans back on his seat, arms crossed and all ears. Second or two before I find my voice again.
You deserve an apology for the other day. Sorry for hitting you. Didn't mean to do it. I was overwhelmed. It wasn't very good news to wake up to.
He does not answer. Rather, he picks up his abandoned utensil and resumes eating.
Hey, are you still...
My jaw was smarting the whole day after that, you ass.
Sorry about that too.
There doesn't appear to be any kind of swelling or bruising, though. A small relief because the last time this happened, which also notably occurred mere scant minutes after we met, the purple hue stayed for weeks, wrongfully accused for being at the wrong place at the wrong time. But it all worked out, and in the end, it's the very same guy I punched was the very one who helped me clear my name.
I was at fault too. I should have phrased it better. Should have handled it better. Sorry.
There is no exchange after that, and for the better part of the lunch, we keep to our respective meals. I suppose it's better this way, less reason for things to become awkward. That's as close as we could get to rebuild the bridge after all. However, this ain't the very hardest part.
How's it going?
How's what going?
You know what I'm talking about.
He rakes a hand through his hair and lets out a huff. If he can, if the place isn't as cramped as full of people or as loud as it currently is, I don't doubt he'll be pacing the length of the room. Anything to take the edge off, anything to get his brain running.
Nothing from forensics yet. They're having a hard time. You saw the state the body was in. Doesn't even look like it was done by a human.
Maybe it's not human.
What, are you suggesting some wild dog broke into the victim's apartment and did that to her? The place was clean. This had to be done by someone who's been doing this for years.
You know I would never imply something like that.
Well, what are you implying then?
That maybe these might be connected.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all of it reprints, this of the same thing, Miss Wright's distorted head on the photos. It takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease even as he gathers all of it into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hannah Wright?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off. Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every imaginable dirt on them, including a family history. Friggin' terrifying photographs.
You never mentioned you got work from them.
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaches up his nose, and pinches it, like the action alone will help him grant all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you. You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatient clearly on his face. Any other person telling him of this, and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each
Ash,
other.
I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hana.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hana? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but the accusation in it is clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than that tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but... Patience can be a tough thing to summon at times, but we didn't get this far as friends if we let our own tempers be the lord of us.
It's really just another freelance work.
He eyes me skeptically, the same stare he reserves for people he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before, earlier in our friendship. Years later, he's already got the unimpressed police look down pat.
There's nothing going on with me and Miss Hana. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all. Believe me, it got awkward fast after that.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
I know you don't, but keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise she'll get off scot-free if she's involved. Man, with how you're acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
All right, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes the better half hour of her lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Ash merely nods, takes the phone out, and excuses himself. Off to a far corner of the cafe for some privacy, if you can even afford to have such a place as this. He returns in a little while and hands me a small card.
I can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this crap. Give this guy a call. You're better off talking to him than me.
Alright, everybody who's talked to him has screwed up, but you know, whatever.
He's at the public library now if you want to catch him there. He used to be my professor back in the university.
Oh, no, I don't think that's...
Go on. I already gave him a heads up. You know I can't help you out, man.
He gives my arm a tap and walks off, mumbling about checking back how things are at the precinct. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is his very own little way of helping out despite what he doesn't voice out. Of all the places, it never crossed my mind I'll end up wandering into the public library today, considering I rarely ever visited. Somehow, there has always been this kind of disconnect between me and books in general. Sure, some of them held my attention in my youth during the brief times of the day I was left to my own with nothing to do. I went through the whole of Grant's collection, as a matter of fact, read all of them twice or thrice even, but they never did hold it for long. Most of them you never even stickied, especially after I learned it's simply easier to do things myself if I want to learn stuff. Dots. This ain't in the plan in the first place, but after Ashton went through trouble to contact the professor, I can't just ignore it. Nothing but quiet creeps me inside, though, nor the typical mum one would associate with the library, but one akin to hush prior to an impending trouble. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking again. I really like to think I'm just thinking too much about this, that this is just the lack of sleep talking. Regardless, apart from a group of students murmuring in a corner somewhere, the place is free of its usual visitors, all while my footsteps echo in a manner unsettling enough to raise the hairs at the back of my neck. Much to my relief, it does not take me long to find him, being the only occupant on this side. Professor Andrew Clark. I have never personally met the man, but Ash has spoken highly of him several times. In fact, he is Ash's go-to guy when something's troubling him with the case. My steps are unsure as I approach. At any rate, he greets me with a warm smile like the grandson he hasn't seen in a long time.
Ashton's friend, I take it. Zachary. You'll have to forgive this old man if I don't get your name right.
Oh, no, you got it. It's Zach. Zachary Steele, Professor Clark.
He gestures at the empty seat across the table while he returns to his books. The next couple of minutes pass in relative silence as he continues to read and take notes from the pile he's accumulated on the table. Maybe I should have taken a book first before heading here, but before I can even get any farther into that idea, the professor clicks the book shut and sets it atop the stack next to him.
Ashton told me you were hoping to get answers from me. Although I'm not quite sure what I could share, I'll do my best to help.
Of course, there's a lot of things I want to ask. How do we get out of this mess is the first among tens, hundreds of my concerns in my head. But in the presence of someone I barely know, the thoughts won't easily form. He is nothing but a patient, however, and with enough time to mull over, a question finally forms.
Do you believe in the paranormal, Professor?
It's supernatural, actually. Don't worry. It's a common mistake to make. But they really are two different things. The other one deals with what we can't explain at the moment, while the other are things we may not have an explanation to. Here.
He places a couple of papers in front of me, the very same one he was writing on earlier. A study of Luxembourg supernatural cultural in a nutshell.
A friend of mine wrote that a few years ago. He took interest in the city after reading about the stories. I have to agree with him here. Even stories dealing with things you don't see with the naked eye can be rife with culture, and this city thrives on it. Just ask the locals.
Like ghosts, for example.
Among other things. The interpretation has changed over the years, though. Various religions, for example, have their own version. It might not always be a spirit now. It could be a memory, or an imprint, an echo, so to speak. Some are born from curses, even. Out of great anger, hatred, or pain. There was this one story. Ah, here it is.
Another book is pulled out from the stack and placed open atop the papers, while he speaks with such passion that it makes me wonder if some part of him believes these to be true. It is interesting, though, even if I'm not personally a fan of such stories. And soon, hours pass without my notice.
In the end, it asked for something to be sacrificed in order to destroy whatever anchors the wraith. A sad tale, that one, but the simplest grudge can bring the ugliest, even in the kindest person. Oh, I'm sorry, I just went on.
Nah, it's good. Are you familiar with the Ermengarde Mansion, though?
Of course, that goes without saying. Who hasn't heard of the local legend? In fact, you aren't the first one to ask me about that recently. Although, word of the mouth is, someone has already bought it.
Ah, yeah. The right couple. It was a close friend who handled that sale.
So I heard. Well, don't think the house being bought by anyone would stop us from talking about it. What is it about the mansion, then?
I just want to ask what you think of it, sir.
We're going to need more than an afternoon for that, young man. You see, it's the kind that has changed over the years. Sometimes, it's the Lord William who haunts the place. But my favorite, a personal favorite, would have to be the ones that followed after the disappearance of the kind daughter.
Well, what about these then?
There is a moment of hesitation on my part before I pull out Miss Wright's photos and lay them all in front of him. Unlike Ash, though, the professor inspects each print with great interest. That gives me some hope, at least.
When were these taken?
Just the other day. Do you think those are the same?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. There were certainly instances when the film would pick up what the human eyes weren't able to see. But then, it could also have been human error.
I didn't edit it in any way. They all just came out like that.
Then, if it is what you're thinking, I'd strongly advise against doing something reckless and further tangling with them. Accounts about them may be riveting to you.
What about those people in the house? If there is something in there, shouldn't they know? I'm sure they're already familiar with the legends, but...
Some people might deserve it, however.
Deserve what, sir?
All of a sudden, the tenderness in the professor's eyes disappears and his face becoming unreadable. As though catching himself, he hastily clears his throat, gathers his books, and rises from his seat.
Professor?
I'm sorry. I just remembered something I neglected to do. You'll have to excuse me, Zachary.
All right. Do you need any help with that?
Don't let my looks fool you, son. I can still carry a few hundreds. I've been doing this for years. I'll see you some other time if you have any other questions.
Of course. It was nice knowing you, Professor.
He doesn't hear it, however. In a few short strides, he's out of the library, leaving me and every piece of this whole mess amidst the oppressive stillness. You weren't helpful at all. Yay. Despite the answers gleaned, more questions surfaced. If there's even a single way out of this, I hope we'll find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echoing my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today I really can't give a damn about everything. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. An invitation and a request to cover an event, the Wright's housewarming party, tomorrow evening. If only it were that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her about that thing in her house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall down to the side of the bed along with the invitation. I'll think about it tomorrow when my head ain't muddled with the thoughts of a headless woman, the haunting smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me that the last meal I ate had been the one with Ashton, and an empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time, and frankly, a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I do not know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes out, the noise from the streets below lulled me to sleep. At the very least, that's the one thing that hasn't changed. The melody carries into the hall long before I cross the threshold. Solemn but gentle and soothing, a reminder of what home is. Pa's firm and but meaningful gaze, Ma's restful smiles, the warm rays fluttering through the eaves at sunset, the distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's of rain in our room. The room Ma and Pa's pride and joy, a place where we were once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are cold under my feet more than it usually is, the walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes, Ma's singing ceases in Pa. I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging in the deafening whir of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear, but when the light breaks... Her skin has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Hannah's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes. A scream ripples through the air. My whole body feels distant, every limb heavy with lead, unable to move at all. Not even so I can wipe the beads of sweat forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath easily fills the room in the wee hours while I force back into a steady rhythm. There is a tightness in my chest I can't shake off, my heart pounding against as if it's about to burst out. Something cold has settled in my legs. Oh shit, I remember this. Not the usual chill that comes and goes with the passing breeze in the window, but one strong enough to sting, shackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs, tighter and tighter and tighter, all until it becomes too much. My heart stops. Another draft sweeps into the room and brings with it the iron tang of blood. Thick, suffocating, filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downwards, and it slowly comes into view. Mouth stretched in a hideous smile and eyes brimming with nothing but madness. The stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away. From it, from the terror of death that her uncanny twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth to shout, to ask for any help, but my voice has left my body altogether. All I have is the painful realization that no kind of plea will ever save me from her. Then suddenly the bed dips. Dots. The brutal plunge back into myself jerks me awake. There is no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs. Just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste no second pulling it a blanket away, but allow myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting off the bed. Inhale, hold, exhale. 1 step, 2 steps, 3, but the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, no longer are they the small cursory flashes I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I can still feel the blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I draw in one ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. The bench on the park is far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxembourg, considering its location at the heart of a bustling city. But in the early hours of the morning, it provides enough peace and quiet for any poor, problematic soul who appears to wander here. The city is just waking up a little later than usual. But knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning chill nor the soft twittering of birds does anything to banish the images. Every single one has rooted itself in my head, its calls digging deep in what is no longer a safe place to hide in. It used to be easy. Finding some pretense of peace under the guise of sheer optimism following its regular routine, and what the fuck?
Take a key and lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. Take a key and lock him up, my fair lady. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down.
London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Take a key and lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. Take a key and lock him up, my fair lady. Okay, that's enough of that. Now I don't know what to make of it.
Falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Take a key and
it's the same thing. Okay.
Lock him up.
Sometimes it's easier to run, easier to hide when everything's falling apart. That way, you don't have to be the first one to witness it when it does. It worked when things went bad with the movie, after all. It also worked when Ma and Pa were taken from us. Maybe it really is better if I just... The tutty voice gives me pause. When I look up, a little girl, maybe about 6 or 7, is peering at me. 2 wide eyes overflowing with what can only be the natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely note that the same karate uniform she's wearing before returning her greeting.
Hey kid.
Kylie.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
She then flops down on the empty space beside me. Her little legs, still too short to touch the ground, swings in tune with the song she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. Nana would often invite the ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then, Sis and I were both too old to play with them, but you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely as unpleasant as most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Nice to meet you, Kylie. Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me. He's taking pictures with his camera over there.
She points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street where a kid is taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds because all there is on the side of the park are
I
buildings.
don't see what's so interesting with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cuter. Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big brother will get us there on time. We aren't going to be late. It's sports day. So it's not good if you keep looking like that today. If it ends up raining and we lose, it's your fault.
All right, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile is spread over my face. They say kids ask the tougher questions sometimes, and they sure do with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like I'm doing her a huge disservice.
No, not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't...
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's giving my friends and I a lot of trouble. Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I highly doubt that. One of my friends, she left us because of her.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help. That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers.
Oh yeah, she wants help, of course. Yeah, she definitely needs help. She really needs help. Someone pretty much needs to help her before any more people end up dying.
Now we're playmates.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I still think there's another reason. Did you try talking to her?
I don't think that'll work either.
You haven't even tried yet. You sound like Rowan. You're just scared, mister.
That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone or simply the truth in the words itself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh, loud enough to disturb an elderly couple taking a leisure walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Go full speed ahead and then backtrack when the going gets tough. Stay in my safe zone because that's what I know. Once, Dr. Navarro said I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up on our next appointment after that, but he's right, and though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, but the kid makes a good point too. I've been so caught up in thinking there might not be a way out. Maybe there isn't, or maybe there is, but that doesn't mean I should just leave it up to fate. Aren't spirits supposed to be humans before too? And had people they cared about lived a life of their own, smiled and laughed like the rest of us does. Do they really lose it all after
You
death?
better get to school, though. Or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
In the distance, her brother calls for her, and I took that as a sign to leave. Got things to do, to face. The first few steps, they say.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mister needs to go, but you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
I give her a little pat on the head before heading my way. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know. She might have helped. She may not understand it now, even though at such a young age she already has this understanding of things, but maybe when she's older, when the world no longer seems too big
But
for her.
aren't you going to help me, mister?
With what?
Confused, I glance back. Oh boy. Oh boy, you ready for this? You ready for this? You ready for this? Whatever, cheer little talk brought us has vanished under the shadows, suddenly dancing up in my eyes. This frigid air is most definitely not how the morning chill should feel like, bitter, stinging, unwelcoming. And the kid...
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
What do you want from us?
The response never comes, however, because when I blinked, gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
For several passing seconds, I let my stare linger on her face, waiting for any sign of another change. But all that remains there is the carefree smile of a child, none of the spite, none of the cold-blooded smile.
Nothing, huh? I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
I break into a run. I don't look back, not even as I bump into the couple of passerbys, as soon as I'm out of the busy streets. Going insane, this is what it is, and if we don't do something soon, we all will be. The tremors follow me even as I get home. Zach's nightmares became worse with each passing day. To help clear his mind of the unwanted images, Kylie took a visit to the park. There he met Kylie Suarez, a precocious young girl studying at St. Coretti. Alright. I had hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Instead, I am assaulted with more images of her. Her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the horrid crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and Ma's song no longer sounds as sweet as it was meant to be. In the end, all I got is a sinking feeling I will never be rid of her image, and another ridiculous idea that may or may not even work. The sun is already hanging low on the horizon when I make it back, and for the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Only I didn't arrive to an empty room, because as soon as I open the door, I am greeted by none other than...
Sup, Z-Man?
Whatever proverbial stone has made a home at the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window at the sight of Ashton, sitting comfortably on my couch, munching on a bag of chips with both feet propped atop the coffee table. Common sense dictates I should throw him out. Any person of right mind would. But I, like many other things I have gotten accustomed to, I simply take it all in stride. I never did bother turning him away the first time to begin with.
Ash, how many times do I have to tell you not to call me Z-Man? And stop breaking into my apartment! Call the cops on you, but doing that feels like a joke in itself because you are one.
I didn't. You gave me a key the last time I did that, remember?
After the last one you broke, I can't keep replacing the knob just because you think it'd be amusing to lockpick the hell out of it. And hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me because of course he has the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in what's very likely the last piece of chip into his mouth and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it in the nearby trash. Behind me, the television starts blaring the music for the ends of credits of a movie. He has likely been waiting for a while if he's gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch
Wait,
something.
all of it! I was saving that one for the weekend!
I'll replace it.
What exactly is this about? I know I said some real weird things the other day. If this is still about that, I'm not taking it back. It wasn't just a trick of the eye.
In an instant, he sits up, every trace of amusement gone from his face. He clasps his hands in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story altogether.
No, you're right. There really are some odd things going on here lately.
Wait, what? Did I just hear you say that?
I'm not kidding, Zach. Speaking of the other day, did you meet with Andrew last time?
Yeah, at the library.
What did he say about the photographs?
Huh? Oh, there's no guarantee it's a supernatural thing. It doesn't always happen, so that's a dead end right there. Now that I think about it, bothering that guy for this feels pretty silly now. But with the dreams lately...
That's all? Did he say anything about the damn letter at all? Did you ask him even?
I paused, glancing at him skeptically. I don't know where this sudden curiosity is coming from, but if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Ashton, takes interest in this, something or someone must have fucked shit up somewhere. Or the world is ending. Seconds pass. The apocalypse I'm expecting to go along with it doesn't arrive,
yeah,
however.
That's really everything. The letter kind of slipped my mind. The photos were more important at that time. There was some stuff about the local horror stories, though. Talked about the curses, and he was really fascinated with the story about a wraith asking for a sacrifice to move on. Kinda nasty if you ask me. But it does make sense if you simply go along with it. I'm not sure how this will help in the grand scheme of things. Why are you asking about this anyway?
Becca's been saying weird things lately.
Weird like...
Same kind of weird Isabella says.
Alright, bro, stop right there. I thought you didn't believe in this stuff.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one this morning.
Didn't you say you were getting closer to...
Apparently, the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter, though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track. Have you seen the news this morning?
He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels until he gets to a news report about another guy who's been found dead in the early hours of the morning today. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread, and whatever damage has been contained within the place, the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me, help me, help me. Another murder, the authorities claimed. If only they
You
knew.
think this is...
I don't know what to think, Zach.
He raises from the chair and begins pacing the length of the room, lazing his fingers roughly through his hair.
I just know there's something. There must be. There has to be. Fuck!
Well, you do have something in mind, I'm sure. A plan? Come on, Ash, you're good with that.
I do. I'm just not sure if I'll get anything out of it.
Fuck!
Well, a plan is better than no plan at all, ain't it?
Almost too sudden, he swivels on his heel, and for a passing moment I thought he was going to shout at me. Instead, Ash simply flops down onto the couch, crosses his arms over his face, and releases a long, ragged breath. His voice comes out smaller, closer to a whisper when he speaks
I should have
again.
looked into this when she was still here. Maybe none of this would have happened if I did.
Ah, there it is. No need to ask who her is. Every should-haves, could-haves, and would-haves. All our frustrations in one statement. Well, all we can do is cope. What should I say?
Rebecca and I are still here. We'll manage one way or another.
Don't make it sound so easy. We have no idea what we're dealing with here.
I ain't saying it will be, but we gotta do something, yeah? Make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
He grins. None of it reaches his eyes, but it's a start. We've got to start picking out the piece somewhere and hope everything will turn out for the better at some point. And Ash, well, frustrations aside, he's always preferred taking matters into his own hands. However, a little reminder there that there are other people with him that won't
You
hurt.
have a point.
I always do. You just don't listen.
If he minds the bluntness in my words, he doesn't show it. But little by little, things begin to look up, if only for a short while. Ashley's mere minutes close to sundown. He has said little until then, not even a hint of what he's aiming to do after. Well, it ain't any of my business, I know. His whole reticent attitude on the matter gnaws at me. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. A little of the bustle matters to him as he steps into the crowded walkway, however. There's only his goal in mind, and I'd wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before he made the decision to drop by. But despite this, he lags
What's
behind.
wrong, Ash?
His mouth opens, but then closes, but whatever he wants to say is lost in the clamor of traffic outside.
Is there something I can do?
No, just say where you are.
I can't do that. No can do, Ash. Ask me anything but that. No way in hell I'm gonna pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one. And I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
What? You think you have a better plan?
Who knows if it's better? At least it's something.
If all this is going to do is put you in danger, then I'd rather you not do anything at all. I never want to wake up to that kind of thing again. Finding out one of my friends has been found dead. Murdered in her own apartment. One person is enough.
This is still better than having no other course of action, yeah?
He's about to argue for a
Look,
moment,
bro,
but
if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, alright? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, you'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want, but please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I've got no idea if it's the look at my face or the tone of my voice, and ultimately, although his mouth presses into a thin line,
Do
he
what you
noddles.
want. If you can check in with Rebecca, I'd appreciate it.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I like to think the tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest we can get to optimism in this situation. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. Night falls, and despite my best attempts, sleep continues to elude me. With her image still stuck in my head, flashing every few moments, it catches me off guard, with Ma's lullaby still echoing in my ears. No longer the soft tune it once was, and the terrible gnawing at the pit of my stomach. It's no wonder I can't bring myself to drift off even for a little while. It is not as if there's a complete lack of things to do while waiting for sleep to come, if it ever will. And at 2:45 in the morning, I find myself cleaning my photography equipment for no other reason than just to pass time. Though, if I'm going to be honest, it's not the night terrors that are keeping my wide awake tonight, but the anxiety and hope that I'll hear from Ashton soon. And for what's perhaps the 42nd time, my eyes shift over to the end of the table where my phone lies still. I have not heard from him since he left. He hasn't promised a call, of course, but a small part of me wishes he would have had the common sense at the very least. Waiting is a tough game, and with the concern stretching out the minutes far longer than usual, it's impossible for more unpleasant thoughts to not enter my mind. Moreover, it does not help that when the clock finally strikes 3, my hand stills. It'll be a complete and utter lie to say that my heart did not leap straight to my throat in that brief second. My whole body has gone motionless, ears straining for any further sounds. A couple 10 seconds pass, nothing. Of course, with how old the building I'm staying in, power fluctuations ain't anything new. Every now and then this would happen, leaving a few tenants in a rather bad mood. Nothing unusual anymore after a few years of living here, but this time the sudden hush brings with it a stillness that raised the hair at the back of my neck and set my heart beating hard against my chest. Something reeks in the air, and in an instant this place is no longer home. It's a prison. Every rational fiber of my being screams at me to leave. I force myself to swallow and keep a clear head as I lay down all my cleaning tools and begin gathering together the rest of my things scattered about on the table. The camera's body, lenses, filters, diffuser, phones, and anything my hand could reach, but in the resulting panic, like in the nightmares, it is the scent that reaches me first, a foul, putrid smell filling my lungs with the heavy stench of death. And this is what I love about this game. This is what I love about the ghost itself. The ghost uses everything from the character's past. Everything that haunts the characters. Everything in their lives that they're afraid of and fearful of losing. And it uses them against their characters. Like in this case, it's Zach's mother's hums. The song that she always used to hum. You can hear it in the background along with the clicking. So he associates the ghost with his mother and his parents' death. Their brutal murder. My fingers clamp tightly to the camera, holding it closer to my body as if the tiny thing is something. As if the tiny thing would provide enough protection to whatever is with me in the room. It won't, but if it's the only comfort I have, and knowing that whoever she is, she had once been human. Perhaps not all of it is gone, perhaps some of it is still there.
I know you're in here. What do you want?
Something moves behind me, a soft scuttling over the walls, followed by the squelch and painful creaking of what can only be rotten flesh and broken bones. Without hesitation, I whirl around with my fingers and camera ready, patiently waiting for another movement.
I can help you. Whatever it is that keeps you here, I can help. That's what the letter's for, ain't it? You don't have to keep taking people's lives.
Dots. There's a brief moment of silence, and after, for a short while, I think my pleas worked. Then, with no warning, the shuffling resumes, and along with it are the sobs of a woman. There we go. Finally. The light flashes fleetingly one last time, allowing me a glimpse of our grotesque, misshapen features before it is once again lost in the darkness. All of a sudden, her tune changes, no longer a soft cry, but a high-pitched shriek, brimming with pain, grief, and anger. Every ounce of courage I've mustered flees from my body at the sound, and the next thing I know, my hand is gripping the knob and I'm wrenching the door open. Her wares follow me as I flee into the night. Pacing has always been more of an Ashton's thing than mine. When I want to think, I sit down and let the minutes tick by until an idea comes to mind or my pulse settles down, and yet dried leaves and twigs crack under my shoes as I make another pass at them. Terror is too mild to describe. There's no way in hell I'm going back. Whatever she is, pleading won't work. The moment we saw the letter, she's been after us.
I can't run. Not this time.
Where are we? Right here, okay. Nearly 2 hours have gone by since I left the comfort of my room for the solitude of the park. You've been ringing him for 2 hours straight, dude? And he's not picking... Ashton gets back to his phone. I've figured some things out. Let me contact Zach. What the frick? 20,000 missed calls? 2 excruciating hours since I started making calls. No one's answering, not even Rebecca, who's always kept her phone line open in case other people need her. It doesn't help that Ash hasn't said a word where he went off to as well.
Damn it! I knew I should have asked him before I let him leave.
Knowing him, he can be anywhere. But there's really only one place he'll be likely at this time. The sun has already peaked to the horizon when I make it to the mansion. I have no idea what I'm expecting to see when I got here. There's Ashton first and foremost. A part of me wishes my assumptions are correct and he's really somewhere close by on a stakeout. But I've never been the lucky sort when it comes to that kind of guessing, and even after I've made a round of the immediate vicinity, I could find neither hide nor hair of him. Calling him knows no good either, considering how often the signal is here. He can't be too far if he's really here, but if he is, he would have already noticed me by now. Instead, there's only silence, the kind too quiet to find any sort of comfort in. Even the trees seem to have fallen asleep with the rest of the mansion, oblivious to what's happening around it, a small island of stillness in an otherwise fast-paced world. No wonder the whole of Anslem feels at odds with the rest of Luxborn. While the city is alive, growing every minute, breathing every second, and pulsating with life, the village remains unmoving. Unchanged. It's not surprising that the legend still lives up to this day, and why she's here, walking its hauled halls. And beyond me, the mansion looms ominously. But now ain't the time for fear. Even if Ash isn't here, I still got to let the Wrights know what I've seen, what's in their home, and whatever grievance Ash has with them doesn't matter. There might be grounds for imprisonment, but they don't deserve brutal death at the hands of one malicious spirit. And I'm sure that's what Isabelle would want if she was still here. I head straight for the door without a second thought. It takes a few rings to sound loud above the foreboding stillness before I hear footsteps on the other side.
Only a Nazi would knock at such an ungodly hour. Where's that damn butler when I need?
Before long, the door swings widely open, with Mr. Luke Wright standing behind it. Seething would be a complete understatement to describe him. Like this, I've got no doubt why Ash would find him a suspect.
You? How the hell did you get in here? What in 7 hells do you want? It's bloody 6 in the morning!
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't. Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep. Come back when people are actually awake.
Before I can get a word in, he slams the door to my face and bolts it shut with much finality.
Wait, sir, you gotta hear me out. You're both in danger if you stay in there. Have you seen the news lately? Everything's not a coincidence.
Only silence answers me. Maybe if it was Mrs. Wright. Oh, who am I kidding? There are limits to how far a person will believe in you. Then again, I didn't believe Isabelle when she warned us. And now I'm here, desperately trying to save people, even if I'm aware it's completely out of my own capacity to do so. Is this what they call karma? If so, it's one horrible way of turning things around. taking people's lives, playing with other people's fears, making them feel useless.
You're around, ain't you? You here? Inside this house? Listening, watching, or whatever it is that you spirits do? What did they do to you? I can help you, you know? If it'll let you move on, I'll gladly do so. You don't have to kill anyone.
Nothing. I don't even know who I'm talking to or if a sane person is supposed to be doing that. The only thing I got after is a feeling of foolishness watching over me. Or perhaps this is just me losing my mind. Out of other options and any other ideas, I let my hands slide off the door's surface and fall listlessly to my sides. I can go back to Luxborn, try to find the others, try to get out of this mess with them, or let them know how much in deep shit we all are. Both sound good. Either way, my lording here ain't helping at all. I let the quietness and calm me for a few more minutes before standing up and heading out to fetch my bike. It's quite a distance to Luxborn, but if I hurry, I'll reach it in maybe... Dots. The rustling stops as soon as I turn around and strain my ears for any other movement around me.
Yo, Ash, you there?
No answer. If he is here and I've just missed him earlier, already my feet is moving in search of him for the second time. It won't hurt to double check. Triple check even. With how big the property is, he can be anywhere. If things ain't so urgent, if they ain't so dire that lives are at stake, I'd probably have just waited for him to show up again.
Damn it! He needs to realize what exactly it is he's dealing with.
That it is not just a petty criminal that he can simply throw in jail, that it's something beyond the authority his police badge could ever have given him. The guy needs to stop playing the big damn hero, sit down and chill. If he continues the way he is right now, I'm afraid he'll make a fatal mistake this time. My breathing comes in short, shallow raps by the time I make it back to where I started. Still no sign of him, and I'm beginning to think I'm just wasting my time here. But that is when I hear it. I'd recognize the melody in a heartbeat. Ma's favorite song. I listen for a while, trying to gauge where exactly from the house it's coming from. My feet start moving before I can stop them. And there, as I circle a corner, from the room up the second floor. There are no lights inside and the windows are shut, but I'm sure whoever's singing it is in there. And
Hold
what?
on a sec there.
It's difficult to get a decent view from my position, but something's odd about that window. The marks on the other side rather streaks the color of copper running across the wide glass panes. I can't make out most of it if the strokes are meant to say something. Miss Wright's cleaning crew may have simply missed that room. Still, while I hear an old tune here of all places, I won't know. It's not an obscure song by all means, but it is pretty rare to find someone who knows this. And for some reason, Death seems to follow this song around. Panic lodges itself at the base of my throat once. Whoever's humming might be. I don't want to be a pessimist now, but on the off chance that it's Miss Wright,
Shit.
I shouldn't just barge in there. I can put myself in danger before I can save anyone. Ash will tell me so in the exact same words. Might even write me a dissertation why that is a bad idea if he ain't so lazy. But damn it, god damn it! Someone could be in danger. I can search for Ash, but what if it's too late by then? With how big this place is, he can be anywhere, and it's very likely by the time we come back someone's already bit the dust. That and the cries grow louder against my ear the longer I linger. Almost impossible to ignore drawing me in like a moth to a flame. For a moment I let myself shudder, shaking the uneasy feeling off my head. This can't be a good idea, not by a long shot. Still, I've got to try. Dots. Searching takes a while. Eventually I find a branch with the right distance and heights to reach the window. Climbing the tree to get, however, is a whole different story altogether. I haven't done that since I was a school kid, but even then it's a struggle for me. I do manage to make it work somehow. After a hard battle, a few bruises and scrapes in my arms, I'm hoisting myself up to the window, and falling straight through the room when the panel suddenly gives. The awful, putrid smell assaults me before the pain from the fall itself, and I have to fight the urge to puke right there. But what welcomes me as soon as I collect myself from the floor and open my eyes, only to serve to push the vomit up my throat.
Miss Hana?
Holy shit, what? What in the... Where the frick? Alright, I wasn't actually... No, I thought this was the possessed Hannah. This is the possessed Hannah. This is definitely the possessed Hannah. Because... Luke kills Hannah in the other route and disposes of her body. Hannah doesn't get killed by the ghost when Hannah dies. I've never seen this before. And blood, so much blood. How many hours has it been? I would have approached her, but the foul smell permeating the room says all there is I need to know. She's been long gone. There's nothing I can do. I try not to gag, not to touch anything, my feet automatically backing away from the small pool of blood at her feet, from the bare walls void of any colors except for their words. Help me. Panic quickly surges in me. Of all the moments to be here. Oh, you know what? You know what? I am retarded. I loaded the wrong save. Well, this is, we get to see something new today. We get to see the, save where Hannah ends up dying. This is the save where, Luke was, killing Hannah. I guess that's why there was that aura around Luke when we went to the door. Wrong place, wrong time. Shit. I've got to call someone. Ash, the authorities, anyone.
She's dead. She's dead. God damn it, she's dead.
I think I'll go back and load the other save once I get done with this, but it's interesting seeing this. Someone has to. I face shadows at my feet, the sound of glass breaking, running through the thick, foul air, sharp and cutting. But none of it sinks in, not even the crunch of glass under my shoes as I take an uneasy step to steady myself. Instead, all I hear is the sound of footsteps and shuffling outside, their very urgency at odds with the hammering of my heart against my ribs. There is no comfort, no escape when the door opens, when Mr. Luke Wright barges in the room, wide-eyed and seething with fury.
There should be a law against noise this early in the morning.
His eyes shift from me to Miss Hannah and the mess of blood and the shards on the floor. It doesn't take doesn't take long for him to put two and two together, easy for me to see what conclusion he got. I opened my mouth, trying to weave some semblance of coherence amid the cloud of panic and fear in my head. Hold on. Didn't he kill her?
Hannah? Hannah, darling, buttercup. Love, speak to me.
I know this looks bad.
You! What did you do?
There is no question in that, only an accusation.
This looks really bad. Standing here in your house with a dead body, but I can explain.
You killed her! You ones! Get in here!
Mr. Wright, this ain't what it is. Outside, there was a noise. Someone's crying.
You killed her!
No, you killed her.
Hannah! Oh, Hannah! My lovely, beautiful Hannah! I knew you were bad news the moment you showed up here!
You have to believe me, sir. It wasn't me. I swear to God, it wasn't.
For a moment, there was only silence and ache in the room, abruptly tilting on its axis,
Call
dimming.
the police! Get rid of this rubbish!
Certainly, really be having tea this morning. Bring it to my study. Ugh. Clean out that awful stench.
Darkness falls. Dots. The pain is the worst when I come to, a sharp piercing ache somewhere at the back of my head, begging to be noticed. But it's nothing I can't handle. Blearily I open my eyes, expecting to be greeted by sunlight. However, the walls that welcome me are unfamiliar. When everything comes into focus, I recognize the place for what it is. A cell, dark, cramped, with only light coming from the moon outside, streaming through the sole window barred by thick metal bars. Memory rushes back to me in sharp bursts, the mansion looking for Ashton, a familiar tune, and a woman crying. All in my head still aches from the hit I've received.
Still better than a morgue, I guess.
Gingerly, I pull myself up, stretching from the cramps in my shoulders as I do so, but stopping when a sudden movement induces an acute stinging pain right through my arm.
Damn, they got me good. What time is it?
And as expected, they've taken everything I have in my person. Wallet, cell phone, my keys, meds, even a small pack of gum. Protocol is protocol. In the first place, ending back in another cell isn't in my agenda. The first time wasn't a pleasant experience, and this certainly won't be either. Considering who has likely put me in here, it could be much worse. The bars are cold to my touch when I approach it, looking for the person on duty. They usually allow us to contact someone, and Ashton at least has to know I'm here. He'll be pissed, that I'm quite sure of, but he's the only one who can help prove my innocence and get me out. However much I don't want to rely on him for this. The hallway in front of the cell is empty, but voices float through from further in, likely the poor officers assigned to late-night duty. Judging from the snippets of conversation I catch, today's topic over a snack is that moron who thought it's wise to cross the rights. They use each other's names too, most of which I'll likely have words with them about in this future. But really, I'm in no position
Excuse me.
now.
Anyone?
Silence.
Excuse me. I need to make a...
Blood freezes in my veins, and my grip on the bar tightens as the revolting scent reaches my nose. More than the gore, the foul smell of death hangs heavily in the air. And against my better judgment, I turn. Her face is the first thing I see. A gruesome sight on its own, eyes gleaming with nothing but malevolence. Blood oozing from the large punctured wound on her head. Mouth open wide in a voiceless scream. I clamp on the compulsion to retch. On instinct, I step back, putting as much distance as this cramped cell will allow between us. The bars rattle as soon as my shoulders hit it, a hindrance not to freedom but to safety.
You got to stop this! We can't help you this way!
She moves in short, sudden bone-crushing twitches, and I know there's no escape. I'm screaming for help before I know it, jolting the bars with as much force as I could.
Somebody! Get me out of here! Anyone, please!
Bugger off! Some people are trying to get some sleep here!
No! She's here! You've got to let me out! She's gonna kill me! Someone! She's...
So yeah. Yeah, we screwed that up. But yeah, that's how Zach dies. With Hannah not possessed and Hannah's actually dead. Although I don't know. See, here's the thing. Shit. I'm gonna skip through this then, because where is the text instant reply? We need the Hannah possessed. There we go. Okay, skip. Tab, skip. Skip. Fuck.
Be honest with me, Marianne.
Skip. Alright. Skip. 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 Skip.
Rebecca and
Skip.
I are...
Alright. Turning back on classic. Now, Hannah should be possessed, and we can see how Zach dies as Hannah's possessed. Someone could be in danger. We're gonna enter the open window. Yeah, because this is a different dialogue. Before, in the other one, there was blood. He could see blood on the window from the outside. But the question I have is, if Luke killed Hannah already, if Luke's in that other route, Luke stabbed Hannah to death. But was Luke possessed by the spirit? Is that why we saw help me over the window? Because when she died, I don't know. So I've got to try, funnily enough, for a couple as high profile as the Wrights. They don't seem to have any security detail patrolling all around. A few guards here and there, sure, but one will expect they have more considering the size of the place. Works to my advantage, though, and I really can't complain when there's a high chance I might get arrested for what I'm about to do. Alright, what I was saying is, when there's blood and help me painted everywhere, usually that means the spirit has killed the person, but that was the path where Luke killed her, so I'm not sure. Certainly no going back now, but as soon as I step into the parlor, all of it ceases. While I find no trace of the woman I heard crying, like I'm expecting to. The room is still empty at this time of the morning, and I'm left standing awkwardly in the middle of the hush. Maybe she just hid
Hello?
somewhere.
Are you here? I heard someone earlier, and I'm here to help.
Hoping for an answer, I let the question hang in the air. But several seconds merely go by without a word or the slightest movement to indicate there is someone else in here. Has been here. With the stories I've heard, the things I've seen, it takes effort to keep my brain from going into that line of thought.
I'm not going to hurt you. If you're here, say something.
Nothing. Am I just hearing things? No, I'm pretty sure I heard someone. But with no one responding, I can't help but feel silly like this, and the awareness that I've just trespassed a house for nothing because of some voice prickles at me. Suddenly, the silence feels uncomfortable, and anxiety slowly creeps on my back. I should get out of here while I can. If it ain't there, it ain't there. I don't spare the room another glance while I walk back the way I came. Out into the window, leave before someone else notices.
I thought I heard a servant moving around here. Turns out it's just a rat scurrying about.
Johans! Dun dun dun.
How unpleasant.
My heart shoots up into my throat. I can run. The window is a few steps away. I should be able to escape. But instead, out of some foolish impulse, I turn around. Perhaps it's because the only impression the guy has given me, the guy has left me in what few times we met, is nothing but unsettling.
This ain't what you think it is.
You're quite the distance from the kitchen, I'm afraid. Perhaps I should lead you there.
Someone's in here before me. I wasn't here for what you're thinking. There was sobbing and...
The first blow knocks the wind out of me, sending me heaving and crumpling to my knees. Tears well up in my eyes as the pain swells when he twists my wrist behind my back.
You've got to listen to me.
Then again, dirty thieves aren't welcome in my kitchen either.
For a moment, there is only silence and a sudden piercing ache, this time at the back of my head. The room abruptly tilts on its axis, dimming. On the verge of unconsciousness, I can only hear the scuffling of a foot, the thud of the door being closed, and a woman crying, asking for help. I know no more. Thoughts. The pain is the worst when I come to, a sharp piercing ache somewhere at the back of my head, begging to be noticed. But it's nothing I can't handle. Blearily I open my eyes, expected to be greeted by sunlight. However, the walls that welcome me are unfamiliar.
Still better than a morgue, I guess.
Gingerly I pull myself up, stretching from the cramps from my shoulder as I do, but stopping when a sudden movement induces an acute stinging pain through my right arm.
Damn, they got me good. What time is it?
As expected, they've taken everything I have in my person, wallet, cell phone, my keys, meds, even a small pack of gum. Protocol is protocol. In the first place, ending back in another jail cell ain't in my agenda. The first time was not a pleasant experience, and this certainly won't be either. Considering who has likely put me in here, it could have been much worse. The bars are cold to my touch when I approach it, looking for the person on duty. They'd usually allow us to contact someone, and Ashton at least has to know I'm here. He'll be pissed, that I'm quite sure of, but he's the only one who can help me prove my innocence and get me out. However much I don't want to rely on him for this. The hallway in front of the cell is empty, but voices float through from further in, likely the poor officers assigned to late-night duty. Judging from the snippets of conversation I catch, today's topic over a snack is that moron who thought it's wise to cross the rights. They used other names too, most of which I'll likely have words with them about in the future. But really, I'm in no position now.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I need to make a...
Blood freezes in my veins and my grip on the bar tightens. I don't dare turn, because more than the haunting melody, I'm afraid of what I'll see, or of who's singing Ma's lovely lullaby. A death song, that's what it is now, but I guess that's what it's always been. If this is Dan's calling, I'd prefer that it's not her vicious smile that I see last.
Oh, Zach, sweetie, don't you love this song?
My head snaps up in surprise, and I swivel to see Mrs. Wright. Mrs. Wright, of all people, sitting on the cot. Hold on, I gotta go Her smile is as easy and sweet as ever.
That's right. What are you... How did you...
I jostled the cell door to check. A prison break is the last thing on my mind, of course, but her presence here begs for a lot of puzzling questions to be answered. Locked tight. Was I just too groggy earlier that I didn't notice her?
Don't be surprised, darling. Money and power can get you anything.
She has a point. Out of all people, she knows more than anyone how to play that game in the world. Yet to hear it straight out of her, it's like talking to a different person. I don't bring this up, however. Perhaps she's just having a bad day or a tiff with her husband. After the incident of the other day at the party, well, I don't like to gossip, but it won't be surprising anyone could say the strangest things when in a bad mood. Still and all...
You ain't supposed to be here, Miss Wright.
Why ever not? Isn't it comfortable here?
Well, it is, kinda, but you're still not supposed to be on this side of the cell.
It's comfortable? Well, you think it's kind of comfortable? What?
Besides, it's too early. Or too late for a visit. This is beyond the scheduled hours.
Oh, I'm sure Chief Inspector Lee wouldn't mind a little chat between friends. Besides, his prison officers just snoring in the break room.
She brushes off a lock of hair from her shoulder, stands up and meanders around the length of the cell for whatever space it would allow. As if this is just a simple stroll in the park, making a show of checking every scratch past the occupants of the room has left on the walls. Nevertheless, I try to make myself small against the corner. Any closer and we'll be crossing each other's personal spaces. Frankly, that's more than I'm comfortable
Be
with.
that as it may, they have cameras here too. How are you going to explain that when they check?
That doesn't matter, dear.
It does. Your popularity ain't going to give you any kind of immunity from the law. I appreciate the visit, but I'd rather not see you get into trouble.
It makes her stop, but just as I'm starting to think I finally reasoned
You
with her...
don't want to get out of here.
Of course I do. But you don't have to do anything. It's my fault. I'll find a way out of this mess.
You did bring it to yourself.
This really is just a misunderstanding, Hannah. I didn't mean to trespass. If you'll just listen to the whole story, you'll know I didn't mean to do it.
I'm really disappointed in you.
I looked straight at her, the sudden change of her tone, checking for any signs I've upset her with what I did. Of course she would be. She has every right to. After all that talk, the little attempts to build a friendship, here I went and broke it into another person's house. Her home. On so many levels, beyond any kind of friendship, it's still wrong. Her anger doesn't come as I'm expecting it to, however. Instead, she smiles. A horrid little smile I didn't think I'd ever see from her.
Breaking into our home. Disturbing my love in his sleep. You've upset my Prince Zach. You've really upset him.
Hannah?
Panic swells in me, ripping up my spine. Irrational, I know. You shouldn't feel this way about anyone you know. But here I am. Backing away, trying to keep an ample distance between the two of us. I'm afraid, wholly afraid of her. This ain't Hannah. Bars rattle as soon as my shoulders hit it. A hindrance not to freedom but to safety.
Has anyone ever told you how beautiful those eyes of yours are?
Oh God! Oh God, no! Oh dear God! Things just made total sense now. Oh no! Okay, in the Luke chapter of the Death Run, do you remember when he finds a box with eyeballs? Oh boy. It just clicked. I don't know. Oh no.
My Nana? Occasionally my sister. Hannah? You alright?
She laughs a little, the deranged little thing coming from her. Yeah, sorry, I can be kind of dense sometimes, not putting two and two together. I'm stupid. There's no cheer in it, no warmth, only spite.
Makes me want to take them home, wrap them in those pretty ribbons I have in my vanity. I'm pretty sure my prince would love it, don't you think, Zachary? A little gift from me.
Stay away from me!
She moves in short, sudden bone-crunching twitches that are too painful for me to watch. I want to look away, but I can't. I'm screaming for help before I know it, jolting the bars with as much force as I could.
Somebody! Get me out of here! Anyone, please!
Bugger off! Some people are trying to get some sleep here!
Oh yeah, sleep is way more important than your life.
No! She's here! You've gotta let me out! She's gonna kill me! Someone! She's...
Oh, you poor thing. Don't you worry. You won't even feel the pain.
Alright, I guess that's the end of Zach's death run, and seeing as this is going back and re-recording it, we're finished all the death run videos. So, yeah, if you're watching this in chronological order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I recorded this last, so sorry if I've given any spoilers up ahead. I've tried not to, though. Alright, thanks for coming out and watching. Those of you on the stream, and also those of you on my YouTube channel. I really appreciate all the comments and the feedback that I've been getting, and it makes it all worth it to see that people enjoy the stuff that I'm putting up, and really makes me happy to know that you guys are enjoying things. So yeah, that's about it, and I should be getting more of the good run videos up soon. So, thanks for coming out. My name is Eclipid. Peace.